Welcome back, everybody, to the Big Book Roundtable of the RICO 12 family of recovery resources targeted at people from all backgrounds, faiths, and places dealing with addictions of all varieties. RICO 12 is also a resource for the loved ones of addicts as we go through this big book with each other here. I'm Justin B. I am a child of an all-powerful, perfectly loving God and a multidisciplinary addict living in the miraculous recovery, one day at a time, that is promised in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm joined by David G. and Nikki M. And I'm just grateful to have my brother and my sister here with us as we go through this big book line by line. David, why don't you introduce yourself and say hi and tell us how you're recuperating here?
Hey, everybody. I'm David Green. I'm an alcoholic addict of many sorts, blessed with the gift of recovery since August of 1994. And I'm grateful to be here today as well. I've had a little setback for a few months. I've recovering from an Achilles tendon surgery. And, it's been a process, not an event, but God is good and all is well. So thank you.
Thank you, David. And we're glad you're here with us. And we're glad that process is moving along in a generally positive direction. Nikki, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what's going on in your life.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki M, and I was really happy to wake up today. As everyone knows, if you're following this podcast, I have a long distance relationship, and Mr. Luxembourg's here, and we're heading to the Caribbean for 3 weeks in the sun. It's his big birthday. I'm not even going to tell you guys what number because he's a baby compared to us. I'm just so grateful that God is continuing to use us and that we could get together at the table one more time before I hit the sun, you guys.
We're happy to have you here, and we're excited for your getaway there. I hope you have a fantastic time, connection, and just a good time. All right. So what we do in this service, in this podcast, is we go line by line through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, reading, sharing experience, strength, and hope, maybe a little history background where it's appropriate, and giving insights into how we apply these principles in our lives. And we have been reading in chapter 8, Two Wives, over the last several weeks, and we are continuing there. The last 4 weeks, we've gone through each of the 4 categories of drinkers, I guess, is what we've been doing. And today we're going to start reviewing those in a little bit more detail. We'll be reading on page 110, starting at the paragraph that begins, "Let's now go back to husband number 1," and we'll read 3 or 4 paragraphs onto page 111, ending in the paragraph that ends with, "No matter how hard you try." So grab your big book, follow along, get ready to mark things up, take notes, and apply the principles that we are learning and discussing in this as we move along. So let's begin the reading. "Let's now go back to husband number 1. Oddly enough, he is often difficult to deal with. He enjoys drinking. It stirs his imagination. His friends feel closer over a highball. Perhaps you enjoy drinking with him yourself when he doesn't go too far. You have passed happy evenings together, chatting and drinking before your fire. Perhaps you both like parties, which would be dull without liquor. We have enjoyed such evenings ourselves. We had a good time. We know all about liquor as a social lubricant. Some, but not all of us, think it has its advantages when reasonably used. The first principle of success is that you should never be angry, even though your husband becomes unbearable and you have to leave him temporarily. You should, if you can, go without rancor. Patience and good temper are most necessary. Our next thought is that you should never tell him what he must do about his drinking. If he gets the idea that you are a nag or a killjoy, your chance of accomplishing anything useful may be 0. He will use that as an excuse to drink more. He will tell you he is misunderstood. This may lead to lonely evenings for you. He may seek someone else to console him, and not always another man. Be determined that your husband's drinking is not going to spoil your relations with your children or your friends. They need your companionship and your help. It is possible to have a full and useful life, though your husband continues to drink. We know women who are unafraid, even happy under these conditions. Do not set your heart on reforming your husband. You may be unable to do so, no matter how hard you try." Okay, so there's some paragraphs there that may sound a little bit controversial to the wife of someone or the spouse of the loved one of someone who's struggling with drinking or with whatever is ailing them. But I'm excited to go through this. David, why don't you take us through there, sharing your experience, strength, and hope?
Sure. And just thank you again for your service, Justin, and just beautiful words here. I just love this book, and I love, that we break it down and we take a deep, deep look at it. And if you remember on husband number one, he's the Mr. I don't have a problem, leave me alone. It's harder to deal with someone who doesn't feel they have a problem because they feel that you're the problem. And that was me for a long, long time. And so it says, now let's go back to husband number one. Oddly enough, he is often difficult to deal with. Why? Because he doesn't feel like he has a problem. And if you don't feel like you have a problem and you're nagging me about a problem that you think I have, then there's going to be difficulty. I promise you. So he enjoys drinking. It stirs his imagination. And, for me, many, many years, that's what it did. It stirred my imagination. But also from the get-go, I mean, this thing was in me as a little guy, and I can just remember it did more than stir my imagination. Trust me. His friends feel closer over a highball. See, that was really never me because my friends all fled. They left. They didn't want to be around. It was good when we first started out to drinking, but it always turned into throwing fists and, just terrible words back and forth to each other. It says, perhaps you enjoy drinking with him yourself when he doesn't go too far. Well, that could never happen because I always went too far. I can remember the last time that I went to treatment with the Native Americans. The lady that I had been dating for a long time at that time, she went to the bar while I was in treatment. And when I found that out, it really pissed me off because she would never go to the bar with me. So when she came for the first visit, I asked her, I said, I understand you've been at the bar. And she's like, yeah. And she said, David, I could go there without worrying to death, that the window was somebody was going to get thrown through the window and that it was just going to be the craziest night of my life. And she's like, I didn't go there to pick up people like you do and behave the way you do, but I enjoyed an evening out with some friends. And, of course, I didn't believe any of that. I thought it was all BS. And you know how the alcoholic mind is, or maybe you do. So you passed happy evenings together, chatting, drinking before a fire. I've never done that ever. I mean, it might start before the fire, but before it was over, I was lighting a fire. I was bad to set fires. I burnt my mother's house down with her in it to the ground. By the grace of God, I made a lot of money in recovery. Some of the years that I've, been in recovery, and I was able to buy her a home and give that home back to her. But I burnt down a couple of bars, so don't drink with me before a fire, expecting a friendly chat. It's not going to turn out that way, I promise you. So perhaps you both like parties which would be dull without liquor. Now, remember, they're talking about a different guy here. They're not talking about a guy the way I was. And so we have enjoyed such evenings ourselves. We've had good time. We know all about liquor as a social lubricant. Some, but not all of us, think it has its advantages when reasonably used. And I want to bounce back to page 102 for just a second, bottom paragraph. And it says this. This connects to this. Many of us keep liquor in our homes. We often need it to carry green recruits through a severe hangover. That was not a good idea for me. Some of us still serve it to our friends, provided they're not alcoholic. But some of us think we should never serve liquor to anyone. Now I have. I've come up on drunks that have been in the DT so bad that they would have died. And so to give them a drink before they got medical help was absolutely the right thing to do. And I didn't know that at the time, but I was ignorant about alcoholism in that respect. But today I know better. And it says we never argue this question. Each family, in the light of their own circumstances, ought to decide for themselves. So top of 111 there. And I love this because these few paragraphs are going to talk to us about 6 principles of success. And it starts with number 1 right here. The first principle of success is that you should never be angry. Why? Because it only damages you. I mean, if you're that way. Our literature tells us no matter who's angry, they're the ones in the wrong. And I know that today. Now, it's hard not to be angry with an alcoholic or an addict whenever they've done the craziest shit imaginable to man. The behavior is just unreal. But And it even says here, even though your husband becomes unbearable and you have to leave him temporarily, you should, if you can, go without rancor, which means resentment. Patient and good temper are the most necessary. Really not operating from that place of anger, because if you can, when I see somebody happy and I'm drunk, I don't like that person at all. And the reason why is because they have what I want and I can't get it. And so really what they're telling us here is if you will practice this principle of not being angry, but at the same time not putting up with BS out of this person, then you're going to be more successful. And that's definitely a principle of success. But remember, alcoholics are not the only ones who suffer from the spiritual malady. It's also those that are bound to the alcoholic as much as I am to alcohol, the malady. So principle number 2, our next thought is that you should never tell him what he must do about his drinking. That's absolutely a principle. When I'm nagging, I'm playing God and I'm trying to control. If he gets the idea that you're a nag or a killjoy, in other words, playing God, your chance of accomplishing anything may be useful and it may be zero. He will use it as an excuse to drink more, and he will tell you he is misunderstood. I've had a lot of sponsees try to do this with me, and I just tell them, dude, I don't care. You're already drinking. Oh, I'm going to drink more. Shit, don't threaten me, dude. Go drink more. I mean, So I can remember my first sponsor, Charlie, of Joe and Charlie, and he was a really cool guy, and he was really funny on the tapes. If you listen to their tapes, they're so informative, and they're so funny about stuff. But I can remember, when he was one-on-one, he wasn't such a funny, nice guy. He was pretty serious about this illness. And I can remember him at a meeting one time, and he asked a lady, he said, what is your favorite flowers? And, she was just giddy about it. And she told him, and she I guess she thought he was going to bring her some flowers or something, but she asked him, why do you ask? And he said, because you're going to die pretty soon from this illness, and I just want to know what I need to bring to the funeral home. Man, I mean, you talk about a punch in the gut to somebody who can't get this deal. I mean, that was hardcore. But you know what? It was useful at the time. So, and she did use it as an excuse to drink more. He's such an asshole. I can't believe he would talk to me. Oh my God, I need a drink. So I'm so misunderstood. And the book says, this is going to lead to lonely evenings for you. We may seek someone else to console, always not another man or another woman. I can promise you. Page 81, if you remember, tells us that. So principle number 3, be determined that your husband drinking is not going to spoil your relations with your children or your friends. That's absolutely a principle. They need your companionship and your help. It is possible to have a full and useful life. Principle number 4 right there. Man, what a beautiful, beautiful principle, to have a full and a useful life. Don't think it's not possible to you just because someone like me in your life drinks or uses, or they're a sex addict, or they're a food addict, or whatever it may be that's disrupting your life, because, it's absolutely the truth. So though your husband continues to drink, we know women who are unafraid, even happy under these conditions. I don't know many, but I do know some. Do not set your heart on reforming your husband. You may be able to do so no matter how hard you try. So a lot of principles, a lot of things to look at here, a lot of things to chew over, but I can promise you that, if we follow the principles of success in the book, anytime I see that word success, I want to do what they've done, because they're telling me that's how I'm going to be most successful. So thank you, Justin.
And thank you, David. I'd never seen or listed those principles of success here in this situation. That's very helpful. Thank you for going through that. Nikki, what are your thoughts as you go through these paragraphs?
Well, the same thought you just had. I never saw taught like that. We're students of David G., our sensei. Anyway, I'm not going to go back and read that bottom paragraph because David did such a good job. You know what my lines out say, though? Like, it says, we'll feel closer over a highball. It's like, from the Al-Anon point of view, my line out says, that is, let me save you. Let me join into the sex party because I need to keep my husband happy. He wants a threesome. Let me get drunk with my husband because I need to be like him so he won't leave me. Let me go to the all-you-can-eat buffet with him and sit and eat. I remember I would drink Diet Coke and eat Doritos with baby daddy number 2 because that's what he loved. And before you knew it, I looked pregnant and I wasn't pregnant. Just to join in these habits. And I don't care if it's drinking or if it's Netflix and chill, and that's that's where we lose ourselves, codependence. Let me get closer. Let me feel closer over whatever you're into and forget about who I am. That's what this is about. It's like, and I love this because my line out says page 22. Our behavior patterns vary. Don't compare your program because you heard David. He doesn't sit nice on a fire making sweet love. He's lighting stuff on fire. And same with me. I'm doing weird things. I'm, happy evenings passed together and I'm doing other weird things because I'm not just drinking. I'm thinking. I'm obsessing. I'm trying to look at your phone when you're running away. Like it goes deep, these little things. So that whole, perhaps you both like parties. How about this? Perhaps you both like staying home and numbing out in separate rooms because you can't even stand each other and you're too afraid to leave. Al-Anon. Like this goes, there's so many. And that's why I love also page 55 where it says the consciousness of your belief is sure to come to you. So, about the liquor thing, maybe you'll serve it, maybe you won't. No opinion on outside matters, tradition 10. So, but that's why I just want to quickly get to page 111, my star seeds, magic numbers. Everyone's like, magic numbers. Well, here it is, people. 111. The first principle of success is that you should never be angry. Nikki, how do I never be angry? You follow the instructions in your big book. You pause when you're agitated. You follow the instructions. Like this is so radical. I take people here a lot. And they're like, not to the wife, to the codependent, to the super freak, to the Al-Anon, to the controllers, to the people who have to take hostages, to the fan. It's to everybody. And this is a life instruction book. Everyone's like, life doesn't come with an instruction book. Park your sponsees here. Park your children here. Park your lovers here. Because even though the world, I'm going to read it a little different than David and Justin did. Even though the world becomes unbearable, you see, the world was unbearable when I lost my job in COVID, when I couldn't see my lover for 2.5 years, when I called my daughter Haley and said, I'm never coming to America or getting on a plane again because I'm not getting the pokey. My life was unbearable, right? I had to be there without rancor, without resentment. I had to be patient and good-tempered. And guess what happened? Oh my goodness, my mortgage was paid off. Oh my goodness, I'm getting on a plane tomorrow. Patience. You see? I just had to be patient. Because everyone, Nikki, you have to do it. No, you don't have to do anything. Sit and wait. Next paragraph. Our next thought is that you should never tell anyone. See, this is directed towards the husband, but I want to go deeper. Shut your mouth. Mine actually when it says never tell him what I put a T and a Y. Never tell them what they, and I don't mean pronoun, I mean what they, the world, must do about their thinking. About their thinking. If you think that way, let me know that works out for you. I'm naked in my hot tub. If he gets the idea that if the world, go deeper, moms, if your children get the idea that and then they wonder why. See, my mom needs to read this. She goes, you never tell me anything. Well, I wonder why, you killjoy. Seriously, she's in fear of everything. And I don't blame her. She's got 2 dead alcoholic husbands, 2 dead husbands from this disease. She's a killjoy. She has no treatment for it. So when she gets all scared, I say, how's that working out for you? We have a couple dead people. That didn't work out well. And then we just laugh. Well, I laugh. She looks at me in horror. Your chances of accomplishing anything useful may be zero. You're not going to, if you start nagging anybody, go deep, your coworkers, your boss, your children, your lovers. No wonder and everyone's like, Nikki, I'm afraid he's going to cheat on me again. Lady, Al-Anon he is, because you're a nag and a killjoy. Leave him alone. Nikki, I'm afraid he's going to sleep with my sister. Well, I would. You're awful. And then they don't know what to say when I say that, but I'm honest. He will use that. The humans will use that as the big book of excuses. My line out says lies, lies. It's all lies. They'll use it as a big book of excuses. People will say, you don't understand me. That's me. But you don't understand me. And that only leads to Nikki being alone, blotting out her consciousness with anything she can get her hands on. Not alcohol or drugs, because I'm a control freak. I'll blot out my consciousness with anything I can get my hands on, and it's scary for people. He may seek someone to console. Well, you guys know mine wasn't. I'm Al-Anon. That's my first program, and you're not going to treat me right. Well, someone's husband will, and I'll find out where that is. I'll go anywhere to any lengths, and I'll be like what David's ex-girlfriend did. I won't sit at a bar because I want to get drunk. I'm sitting at the bar so I can talk to your husband, and I will nurse the same drink all night until he agrees to come to my house. See, our behavior patterns vary. Okay, next paragraph. And then everybody, don't hold your husbands tighter when Nikki M's around. That's all been removed. Okay, everyone's like, don't share your fist step at a meeting because everyone will run from you. I have to share it here because I want you guys to understand that's not who I am. And so you don't need to worry about anybody around me. I don't want it. Be determined that your problems are not going to spoil your relationships with anyone. See, I always read this in a general way. So, Nikki, be determined that whatever anyone's doing, it's not your business. You're going to have a good life no matter what. See, the world needs your companionship, Nikki, and your help. I wrote that in, you guys, David, Justin. I put the world needs your companionship and your help. So, Nikki, it's possible for you to have a full and useful life, even though everything around you is crumbling. I'm always like, let me know that's working out for you. I'm having a good time here. And so I'm not afraid, and I'm happy no matter what happens to anyone. I haven't set my heart on anything because everyone will fail me. My line out says, all humans will fail me. So I can't change people, places. Only God can. I'm beyond human aid. And I know that. I can't change anything. I can barely change myself. I have to have God's help. I love this part of the book. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, David. Hey, I'm going to take this in a slightly different direction in this episode because I want to share my own experience, strength, and hope on this. As many of you may have heard me say previously, my wife came into the Anon rooms, about 8 years before I went into the recovery rooms. She went in because of my addiction, and she went in thinking, I'm going to go in to try and fix my husband. And very quickly, she learned that's not what it's all about. She went into a very healthy room who said, no, this is about you and your relationship with God, healing yourself and your own relationship. And what your husband does is none of your business in all honesty there. For the first couple of years, she really struggled with that and tried to tell me what I needed to do. Hey, you need to go into these rooms. You're an addict. You need to do those things. And all it did was piss me off. And I acted out at her. I drank at her, whatever that looks like, to spite her. And eventually after a year or two, she stopped nagging. She stopped saying, hey, you know what you ought to do? You know what you need to do? And she just started working on her own relationship with her higher power. She started working on her own healing and making sure that our kids were protected and safe and that our household was taken care of. My relationship with her was not great. Our relationship was not great and at all during those 8 years, but that is all on me. It's not on her. She was setting things up and doing things as listed in here. And as far as I know, I don't think she's ever read this chapter in the Big Book. I don't think she has. So I'll find out because I think this is pretty funny to look at. But what I found here at the end in my own experience is that when she was living a full and useful life, even though I was continuing to drink and act out, she was unafraid. She was happy under those conditions. She didn't set her heart on reforming me. In fact, when I finally came crawling to her one day after realizing I can't do this on my own, no matter how hard I try, her and I said, "Hey, where are these meetings? Tell me what I need to do." She kind of went, "Whatever. Here's the list. Do with it what you will." And that's when things changed. I mean, she was not, maybe in her heart and in her mind, she was doing back handsprings when I finally came crawling to her, but she was not like trying to control or manipulate in those times. And that was really powerful for me. Now, she tells the story that over those almost 8 years, she'd pray almost every day. Can I now leave him? Can I leave him now? And the answer was always, be patient. Up here, be patient. Things are going to change. And it took 8 years. Now, was that worth it? For me, heck yeah. And for her now, I think so. For our family, absolutely. But that's not the answer to everybody. So I'd like to close this out. I'd just like to get a little bit of take from David and then from Nikki on these topics. We're going to not do the takeaways or whatever. This is how we're going to close it out, is with a little bit of conversation on this. David, I'd love to hear your thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a beautiful testimony that you have there. It's a lot like the one that I have. You know, my wife was so devastated and so hurt because of my addiction and the things that I'd done and the way that I had humiliated her, and not even meaning to do that. It's just, it's just the life of the addict. And my wife is not only a long-term member of Alcoholics Anonymous, she's also a long-term member of Al-Anon, and she's also a long-time member of, the faith tradition. We're Christians, and she's a woman who I've always seen apply the principles in a way that I could only hope to. And I can remember her being so hurt and so disgusted. But at the same time, she had prayed, and she tells the story that all she could hear was stay, stay. That's the only words that she could hear. And, I was praying, and the only thing that I could hear was trust me. And I wanted to hear more. I needed to hear more, but I didn't hear more. I just heard trust me. And, through her faith, and she ended up staying, and she didn't put, she didn't threaten me with what to do. She just told me, you can do what you want to do, but here's what I'm going to do if this kind of behavior continues. I'm not going to live that way. I'm just not. And so through the years, she just continued to demonstrate that forgiveness in a way that I had never seen in my life from anyone that had been hurt as bad as I had. And what that did for me, is it brought me to a place of faith that I had never been in all of the years that I had been sober and all the things that I'd been doing. I really, really surrendered to a way of life. And it wasn't because of her, but it wasn't for her, but it was because of the way that she practiced the faith. And today, my life is in a very good place. It just is. There's so many things that I've changed that I will not do today. I just, you've heard me all along through this podcast, ladies, don't reach out. If you do, I'm sending you to Nikki, or I'm sending you to another friend. I just don't do that anymore. And by the grace of God, none of that's ever happened. So, I think that our wives are a powerful example for people like us, and like your wife. She didn't do anything. She just, she just told me what she was going to do if things didn't change, and she went on and lived her life and was having a pretty good time in my misery. So anyway, that's my.
Thank you, David, for sharing that. And I so identify with it. I'm grateful for our two black belt Anon wives, who, who have really worked the program. Nikki, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm glad you changed it up, because I needed to hear you, Mr. Justin B. I need to hear your miracle. And as David said, it's such a testimony. So my thoughts are miracles. Like, people can't see us, but we're all so different looking, lives, experiences. I mean, nothing is the same. But it's the same because it's a miracle. It's all a miracle. It's just miracles. I don't even know what else to say. Like, even as I sit here, like, if I listen back, there's some times when it was so dark for me in COVID, and I was crying to you both, and I had left Stefano. I said I'd left his country and never gonna speak to him again. Even at Christmas, I said, because now I'm in a spirit world, I'm like, you're not on my timeline anymore. But here he is today because of this program. We're gonna go and celebrate his, I'll say it, his 40th birthday because of this program. I have a young, beautiful man of God, and he's been patient with me. You know, as I sit here, it is a miracle, because it will be a cold day in hell, I think, before the three of us ever did anything like we used to do ever again. We're just not those people anymore. So I'm just excited, because if you're listening, you guys, this is dead people walking again. It's awesome. I love you both. Thank you. And I love your wives. I want to hold them.
Thank you, Nikki. I love it. And thank you, David. So, as we wrap this up, I just want to throw an invitation and some inspiration out to those listeners out there. There is hope. No matter which side of the spectrum, the addict, the in-on, wherever your dependency lies, there is hope. Patience. Sometimes sometimes you've got to leave. Sometimes you've got to leave. But there is hope. You can live a happy, joyous, productive, helpful life with or without the person or the substance or the behavior that is holding you bondage. So everybody, keep coming back. And when you get here, stay, and work this program with all you got, because it is worth it and you are worth it.